Scientists discovered that all successful revolutions happen when just 25% of the population turns against the government. And Oda has been using this exact formula in One Piece this entire time. Dressrosa? Exactly 25% rebelled against Doflamingo. Wano? The same percentage rose up against Kaido. Even Drum Island followed this pattern perfectly. This isn't coincidence. It's the same psychological threshold that toppled real governments throughout history. And I'm about to show you how Oda secretly engineered every major revolution in One Piece using actual scientific principles that most fans have never even heard of. Look, I've been studying One Piece for years, right? And something always bothered me about how these massive, oppressive governments just crumble. Like, how does an entire kingdom of terrified citizens suddenly find the courage to fight back? Then, I stumbled across this research, and everything clicked. Scientists at the University of Pennsylvania discovered what they call the 25% rule. When exactly 25% of any group adopts a new belief or behavior, the entire group follows. Not 24%, not 26%, 25%. That's the magic number. And here's where it gets insane.
Every single revolution in One Piece follows this exact pattern. Let's start with Dressrosa. For 10 years, the citizens lived under Doflamingo's smile. 10 years of being turned into toys. 10 years of forgotten families. 10 years of manufactured happiness. But here's what's brilliant about Oda's writing. He doesn't just show us the oppression, he shows us the exact moment when that critical mass is reached. Think about it. The toy soldier, Rebecca's father, he's not just one rebel. He represents that first percentage of the population that remembers the truth. Then, Luffy arrives and starts breaking the sugar's power, one by one, person by person. And then, boom! The moment enough people remember who they really are, the entire kingdom rises up. Not gradually, not slowly, all at once. But wait, this isn't just Dressrosa. Wano's even more fascinating. 20 years, 2 decades of Kaido and Orochi crushing every spark of rebellion. The samurai are dead, hope is gone, the people have given up. But what does Oda show us? He shows us the underground network, Kinemon and the Scabbards. They're not trying to convert everyone, they're building that critical 25%.
The raid on Onigashima isn't just a battle, it's a psychological tipping point. The moment the people of Wano see that Kaido can bleed, that he's not invincible, that critical mass is reached. And this is where the real psychology gets dark. Because the 25% rule isn't just about hope, it's about despair. There's another side to this research that most people don't talk about. When 25% of a population loses faith in their system, when that quarter of people stops believing in change through normal means, that's when revolutions become inevitable. Let's look at Alabasta. Crocodile's plan wasn't just about taking over, it was about manufacturing that despair, creating that 25% who would lose faith in King Cobra, turn the people against their own government. But here's what Crocodile and most real-world manipulators don't understand. Once you trigger that 25% threshold, you can't control which direction it goes. Vivi represents something powerful here. She's that counter-narrative, the alternative that prevents the kingdom from falling into chaos. She becomes part of a different 25%, the percentage that chooses unity over division. Now, here's where this gets really interesting, because Oda does something that most fiction doesn't do. He shows us what happens after the revolution.
Think about Drum Island. Wapol's gone. The people are free. But then what? Dr. Hiruluk's philosophy lives on through Chaber and Dr. Kureha. The 25% who believed in healing becomes the foundation for the new society. And this is what separates One Piece from other stories. Most fiction stops at the revolution. Oda shows us the reconstruction. But here's the thing that made me really think. What about the world government itself? 800 years, 8 centuries of complete control. How has this system survived for so long when every smaller government falls? Because they figured out the 25% rule too. The celestial dragons, the Shichibukai system, the marine hierarchy, it's all designed to prevent that critical mass from ever forming. They don't just control through force, they control through fragmentation. Think about it. Every island is isolated. Different cultures, different problems, different enemies. The 25% who want change in Dressrosa can't connect with the 25% in Wano. They're fighting separate battles. And that's actually terrifying, because it means the world government understands psychology better than most of their individual opponents. But wait. Here's where Oda's ultimate message comes in. The Straw Hats aren't just pirates. They're connection points. Every island they visit, every revolution they inspire, they're creating a network.
Luffy doesn't just liberate individual kingdoms, he creates allies. Vivi in Alabasta, the Minks in Zou, the Samurai in Wano, Dressrosa's Colosseum fighters. Oh, that's what the Grand Fleet represents! That's why the narrator calls it a historic incident. It's not just about having more pirates, it's about reaching that global 25%, creating connections across the fragmented world. And here's what's really brilliant. The inherited will concept? That's not mystical, it's psychological. When Roger died, he didn't just inspire pirates. He inspired that critical percentage of people who believed that freedom was possible. His execution backfired because instead of ending the dream, it reached the tipping point. And now we're watching it happen again with Luffy. Every victory, every liberated island, every ally gained, it's all building toward that global critical mass. So what does this all mean? Why should any of this matter to us? Because the 25% rule isn't just fiction, it's happening around us, every day. In our communities, in our workplaces, in our societies. The question isn't whether change is possible. The research proves it is. The question is, which 25% are you part of?
Are you part of the 25% who believes positive change is possible? The percentage that builds bridges instead of walls, that chooses hope over despair? Or are you part of the 25% who's given up, who thinks the system is too big, too powerful, too entrenched to ever change? Because here's what One Piece really teaches us. Revolution isn't about violence. It's about connection. It's about enough people believing that a better world is possible. Luffy doesn't defeat tyrants because he's stronger. He defeats them because he reminds people of something they forgot, that they deserve better.
And when enough people remember that, when that critical 25% stands up and says, "No more," that's when the world changes. The only question left is, what are you going to do with that knowledge?